The opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Cable 14, its sponsors, or its shareholders, Cogeco Cable, Shaw Cable, and Source Cable Limited.
Welcome to Persistence Pays. I'm your host, Lori Rowdnask. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the trades because it is said that in the next 10 years, there will be a 300,000 people shortage in the trades industry. So I wanted to talk about that today with our guest, Gino Palarchio, who is the General Manager of Manufacturing Services at ArcelorMittal Dofasco. So thank you for taking the time from your schedule to be here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And Dofasco was known in the Hamilton community as being in our community for over 100 years. So I wanted to talk to you about the difference in what's happening in the trades and how it's so much needed and what we can do to promote the trades in our community.
Sure. The trades have been around for a very, very long time, more than 100 years, so much longer than Dofasco. But as industry has evolved, predominantly technologically, we've become much more technologically advanced, regardless of the industry, whether it's steel, like ArcelorMittal Dofasco, or it's pulp and paper, or chemical, or whatnot. Technologies continue to advance. And that's made the trade job and role continuously much more interesting because as technology advances, what a trade person is learning today at college and then on the job is far more technologically advanced than, say, it was 100 years ago. And that goes across all the trades, mechanical trades, there's lots of, advanced hydraulics and circuitry involved. Electric trades, far more electronics involved. HVAC has a combination of mechanical, electrical, welding technologies. I think the trades have evolved to be highly technically advanced, and the people that are going into those trades today are needing to be that much more advanced in doing those jobs. So
it's quite a skill set too. I mean, lots of thousands of hours in order to do an apprenticeship, and you go through a college degree to get your certificate in whatever field you're going to. So, what got you interested in this type of work?
I think as a youngster, by the way, I was sort of always enjoying taking things apart. I think I probably took my bike apart 10 times and put it together and building things. So I actually originally had an affinity to become a mechanical engineer, which is what I decided to do. But when I brought that up at the supper table with my dad, who, by the way, was a trade, he was a millwright, he wasn't very impressed because as far as he was concerned, engineers were those people that designed really bad equipment that he ended up fixing. So nonetheless, I did become an engineer. And I purposely went into the maintenance field because I wanted to learn how equipment was failing so I could be a better design engineer. To this day, about 30 years later, I'm not a design engineer. I'm still in the maintenance field and still learning. So I've been involved in managing maintenance organizations and growing maintenance organizations and for quite a long time. So I've seen the trade evolve over that time. And I find them to be a joy to work with because it's a really great group of people that have a great sort of skill set from a technical point of view. They're very hands-on. It's a very people because you have to work together in teams. So it's been quite an enjoyable sort of run so far.
Well, and ArcelorMittal does a lot of team building, right? A lot of team building, very big on Team Orange.
Yes, correct. Yeah, teams we feel have allowed us to, it's really a competitive advantage for us. Two heads are better than one. Working together is always better. More brainstorming of ideas. Your brother's keeper. Knowing that your colleague has your back because there's quite a bit of safety implications when working in industry. And you want to know that when you're working with a group of people that each are looking after each other from a safe point of view, and that's a fairly, that's our #1 value at Dofasco, and we don't only sort of speak it, we walk the talk. So a lot of our trades get an incredible amount of safety training in general and specific to the equipment that they're working on. Each trade at the beginning of each job is required to do a hazard recognition for the job before they even start working, recognizing the hazards that are in fact potentially there and making sure that those hazards are recognized and mitigated before they start the job. We want everybody to go home safely every day.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. And what have you seen changing in the trades, like from being in the industry for 30 years?
Yeah, I think predominantly, as I mentioned, technologically, first of all, when we used to hire directly out of high school. So if you had your grade 12, you can come and work at Dofasco directly. And we actually trained our own apprentices at the time. We had our own training courses, we had our own instructors, and you used to get what we called a CFD, Certificate of Dofasco, sort of. But today, there's more regulation in the trade, and that's a good thing because trades do have a responsibility of doing work to a certain sort of standard for the interest of the public. So now we hire predominantly college graduates, in our case predominantly out of Mohawk, but we also hire from other colleges. And the reason being is that these students really need a technical grounding before they come to us. So they're learning much more on the electronic side, on the hydraulic side, motors, et cetera, et cetera. And then when they come to us, we specifically have them work on our unique equipment and how it works. So technologically, you do need a couple of years of college. Before that wasn't the case, but today, because of the technical advances in equipment, that's the biggest change, and that continues to evolve.
Because once they come and they're hired, then you still put them through a whole other training program.
Oh yeah, I think a trade person can expect to be learning for his whole career, every month, every year going forward. And I think that's what makes it a very interesting job, because as we buy new equipment, they work on new equipment, and we're always buying new equipment and staying in it, sort of trying to stay ahead of the curve from a production point of view. And our trades need to maintain and repair that equipment, so they're constantly being trained. We've sent trades over to Japan to be trained on high-tech stuff. We've sent them over to Europe to be trained, when we buy this type of advanced equipment. So it's quite a challenging but a rewarding, I think, career for young people.
Now, what type of tradesmen would you have at Dofasco?
We have quite an array of trades. We have mechanical millwrights. We have HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning trades. We have electronics trades, instrumentation, electricians. We have welders. We have machinists. Those are the core trades that we have predominantly at Dofasco.
And men and women?
Yes, men and women. We have women, a little bit more predominantly in the electrical trade, but we also have women in the mechanical trade as well. Not a lot, interestingly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how have you seen that evolve with women in
well, at one time there were none,
yeah.
Right? I would say that there's less than 10% today, but the women that we do have are excellent trades. Again, that's another thing that's changed quite a bit. Being a trade 100 years ago, or even, quite frankly, 50 years ago, was much more of a physical thing. But today, actually, we want it to be non-physical for safety purposes. So, using the right tools, using the right procedures. So you don't really need to be very physical at all today to be in the trade. You just have to know what needs to be done properly and safely. And from that point of view, in some ways, women are better trades because they follow the rules a little better, shall we say.
So you think really the mindset of women is really that it's physical, heavy work, and
that's an incorrect perception on a woman's part, I would say. Historically, that was the case, but in today's case, it's less so, because with the proper, lifting procedures and tools and just general approaches, it's less physical.
Good. So how's hiring? What is the hiring? Is there jobs available in Hamilton? Like, is this a time in business where there's a lot of work, where there's not a lot of work? What are you seeing in the industry?
I think it's quite interesting because industries go through their ups and downs, and there was a period of time when we didn't do any hiring, probably at least 10 years where we didn't do any hiring or longer. But the baby boom that took place back in the early 60s to the 70s, we did a ton of hiring. It wasn't uncommon for us to hire as many as 200 trades a year in the 70s.
Oh, that's a lot.
Right. So the good news is they're all retiring. It's not good for us because we're losing a lot of great talent, but at the same time they deserve to retire after so many years. But it's a great opportunity for young people. The next 5 to 10 years is going to be a heyday for any young person that's interested in getting a great job in the trade. We ourselves, on average, are probably going to hire 100 trades a year over the next 5 to 7 years. So we're going to probably create 500 to 700 jobs just in the next 5 to 7 years. So for young people in the community, we really, really hope that they consider the trade because we do need them. And as you mentioned, our concern is there's going to be a shortage. So if these young people don't take this opportunity seriously, you know, what ends up happening sometimes is when you can't satisfy your needs inside the country, you're forced to go outside the country. And that has happened in Canada, where we've actually gone and asked for immigration to relax things, to bring in trades from other countries. Hopefully that won't be the case here because there's a lot of young kids that need a great job, and that opportunity will be there for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I wanted to bring the show on, because when I saw the numbers, I thought that's a lot of jobs that are going to be needed to be filled. And so how can we encourage our young people to really go out and jump in on those trades? Because there's a lot of different things, and I know even from my son has tried a lot of different things. He was a framer, then a welder, and you know, went into different lines of work. And that's good because all those skills that you pick up along the way can be helpful down the road.
You know, that's another good point. The one thing about becoming a trade is it's a lifelong skill that, by the way, is applicable to any industry in any country practically. And a lot of these trades actually, you know, they're quite handy at home, so they save themselves a lot of contracting costs. And some of them actually have little businesses on the side as well. So not only does it give you a great career in a company, but it's a transportable career. It gives you some other skills that help you at home and maybe allow you to run a little business on the side. So, you know, there's nothing but great rewards for you know, young students that are interested in the trade.
Well, Dofasco sure has been a solid business in our community and has employed a lot of people, helped a lot of families, and continuing to do so. So that's really encouraging that in the next few years that you will be hiring and bring some of the great talent that we have in our own community to work at Dofasco. Yeah,
hopefully that, you know, our mission is to go forward at least another 100 years.
Great. Well, thank you, Gino, for being here, and we appreciate your time. And stay tuned because we're going to talk to two people that have some great talent in our community, and you're going to get to know them right after the break. Welcome back. Now I have two great guys in the studio with me. I've got Jordan Vasilak and Michael Lasician from Hamco Heating and also Lasician Contracting. So thanks for being here, and I want to talk to you guys about what drew you to the trades. I know some of you have tried different things, and Mike, you started your own business from going into the trades. So let's just start with you and tell me a little bit about how you got interested in the trades.
Well, I was in school, and I always said, oh, I want to be a firefighter or something like that because university wasn't for me. And then when I started with a co-op. I just said, okay, well, hey, this is an excuse to, you know, not go to school and get out of school and try and learn something new. So, of course, we get into that, and then we started, it was called Building Careers from the Ground Up. So it was a class of 30 people went to build a house. I was lucky enough to not be at the house that they were building and work full-time with a home builder and start framing houses, and it all took off from there. I fell in love with it because it was just you were outside and it kept you busy, and it was just good, hard, honest work, and fell in love, and then it just went as far as you can take it, and that's the best thing with the trades is you can take it as far as you want, right? So
yeah,
that's kind of how it went.
From building the homes, what got you into starting your own business?
Well, I worked for a couple companies, and you know, you always see the pros and cons of everything, and you always want to kind of do the business part, like the trades I love, but I just kind of wanted to just expand it really, and the trades has allowed me to do that, and same with the rental property, being able to work on things and stuff like that. Like the trades has just been awesome, and I game changer, really. Like,
Yeah.
from
Well, you wanted to have the business part of it as well as the hands-on part,
No,
so you just combined both and started your own
exactly.
business. Great.
And it's been great.
So what type of things do you do?
We do everything from bathrooms, kitchens, to whole custom houses, to additions, rip roofs off, go up stories. Yeah, sky's the limit.
That's good.
That's why kids should get into the trades, that's for sure.
That's great. Thanks, Mike. Now, Jordan, how about you? Where did you come from a third generation with Hamco, so tell me a little bit about how you got interested in the business.
Well, I've always been interested in a mechanical inclination towards items. I'd always take things apart, ruined a few of my father's clocks in my day, and taken apart a couple things I probably shouldn't have in the garage, like little motors and stuff. And the one thing that really kind of stuck with me is a sense of pride standing back when you accomplish something. And not only that, when you drive by, I do this with my wife quite a bit, we'll drive by many buildings on Main Street or King Street or whatever, and say, well, I did that, and look at that on the chimney, or look at that out the window, or look at the ductwork going up the side, you know, I built that, or I put that up. And it's something that's there for decades. It's not like a tax return you file away and it's gone. You never see it again, and you got to repeat the same process. You are building something that's going to be there. It has a long-lasting impression on the environment and yourself. And I take a lot of pride in what I do as well. Mike shows it as well, and I think majority of tradesmen can speak for that as well.
So how did you get involved in the business?
When I was 13, I was more or less inclined I was going to go to sports camp. And my father showed up, woke me up in the morning, said, "You're coming to work." And since then, I've never really put down pipe wrenches. I've done furnace installs, boiler installs, steam system installs, turbine installs, and I enjoy doing it every day. I'm lucky in the sense where I have the ability to work out in the field as well as work in the office, which has allowed me to understand and appreciate more so of what the industry has to offer. And like Mike has changed his role from being a worker to also being a manager, I have that ability as well as any other tradesperson has that ability. They can always open up their own institution and start from scratch, and if they don't like it, they can always close it back up and join the workforce back for someone else.
Yeah.
So it gives you a lot of transparency in your field as well as in the marketplace. And I think it's imperative that young people understand that it's more than just turning a dial or twisting a wrench. They're coming to work and they're doing something substantial.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's taking the risk to go into business for yourself, because having the paycheck there and then having to go out and find your own work is always a transition. And I've gone through that myself. So I know, Mike, how did you get over that part of it? You know, having to make this a business for yourself.
Well, it was challenging at first when you're saying, you know, like you just said, you have a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And you know what? I was lucky, you know, I had you in my life, and I had my great parents, which always said, you know, hard work and honesty and integrity, and you can do whatever you want. And, you know, I just thought they were saying to me, I didn't know if you know, treat people the way that you want to be treated and do good work, that it will pay off. So it has been, it's been great.
Well, and I've known Mike I kind of consider him like a second son here. And, you know, when Mike first started, I'm like, get testimonials. So I checked your website out yesterday, and you have testimonials.
Well, it hasn't been
there.
updated in a while, though.
So that was always one of the things. I'm like, make sure you take pictures and show people what great work that you're doing, because that's really important to have.
And like Jordan said, it's great when you're driving around and you see things that you've done and you've even contributed, and it's just like, it's really good, and they'll be there forever. So you can show your kids, then they can show theirs, hopefully.
That you built that, or you installed this.
Yeah, exactly.
So family business, third generation, that's pretty exciting. And you know, I met your dad, and he's a great guy, and I'm sure a great example to you in the business. And so how does it feel to be third generation and kind of get into the nitty-gritties of the business that you saw your parents building?
Yes. Well, there is some hidden pressures behind the scenes that never really come to light a lot of the times. But it's nice to have that backbone where I can bounce questions off my father, or even ask questions to my grandfather. Well, what did you do in this scenario? Or what did you do when this particular economical climate came about? My grandfather survived the Depression, and he fought for Canada as well, so he's gone through quite a bit of history in his life, and he's more than willing to share it with his grandkids. And you can always learn something from that. He was the 34th person, I believe, to ever get a sheet metal apprenticeship in Ontario. My great uncle was an electrician at Dofasco and Stelco, and I have a long history with that, and I've always played with their tools, and that's shown me how cohesive everything is. What's changed is still the same. So I mean, we add electronics, we add controllers to it, but it's still a lot of the same stuff, and it's nice to have that backbone to bounce those things off of.
What do you think your biggest learning curve was when you got into working for yourself and having to figure out all those measurements and
time management.
Okay, that's good.
Time management and just sticking to timelines and just using your time efficiently, and that was my biggest struggle.
What has helped you to get more organized and follow your timelines?
Well, like when I first started, it was just go, 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 go. But now I write things down, which I'd recommend to anyone. And
it's a good tip.
It's just we all use these fancy devices that like you can just use. Everyone has a schedule, and if you just do it and set goals and like a goal for every day, and that's the best thing about the trades is when you go to work, you set a goal, and then when you reach that goal and it's done, it just is the best feeling. So
yeah,
it's.
When you see the accomplishment of your work actually coming to completion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Jordan? What's been your biggest learning curve?
I'd probably say the biggest learning curve would be the paperwork department. When you're in the industry and you like working with your hands, that's what you want to do. Sometimes you don't want to stomp and make a note, but it's one of those things you do learn with time. It's always nice to reference it. If you do have to go back and make sure whether or not something was compliant, you can go and say, well, this is what the tolerance is, or this is what I got for my temperature rise, or this is what I tested the pressure at for this duration. And that does dovetail into time management as well, but writing things down has always been an issue for most tradespeople, as it was for myself.
Because everything's in your head.
Everything's in your head,
exactly.
But you're young and eager, and then you get a little older and you realize that's a lot of stuff to remember.
Exactly.
I remember what I did 15 years ago. I don't know what I did 15 minutes ago sometimes. So it's,
I hate to tell you, but it gets worse. Yeah. So time management and paperwork. I think if we ask the audience, what is your biggest struggle in business? I bet you most of them, if they could put their hand up right now, would say those two things. So what do you love best about your trade?
Just working with my hands and with the employees, and we deal with co-op students now. So I used to be a co-op student. I now have co-op students. So it's kind of just seeing, it's just working with your hands and just spending, and people. You deal with people every day. So if you like dealing with people, then that's what I love about the trades. Is just you're always dealing with people and challenges, and it's just it's very rewarding.
I'm sure it must be rewarding for you to know that you were a co-op student and someone mentored you.
Yep.
And I know John mentored you beautifully.
Exactly. Yep.
And now you're actually getting to do that for someone else.
Yep. And that's where the rewarding part comes from. And I, and like even other companies that I deal with hand in hand, and I always encourage them. You need to have co-op students. Like there's and same with like university and colleges. Like I wouldn't say don't go to that, but you have to try all sorts of different things, and that's the good thing about co-op and the trades.
You can try it until you hit something that you
try it,
love.
and all you have to try it for is a couple months, and you'll know if you like it or not.
Yeah, Jordan, how about you?
Sorry.
In terms of
just enjoying what you do. What do you love the best?
I'd probably say trying to make the trade better than it was when I was first there. And whether it's through mentoring students or you get apprentices at some point, you can teach them and hopefully expel the knowledge you've learned and the pride that you've gained into them. And it's nice to see that flourish and watch them take the same amount of pride that you do in your work and make sure they check everything, the seams are right, things are square, things are plumb, and that's very rewarding. Very rewarding.
Well, I love the fact that you both have gone back to kind of when you started and remembering what it was like for when you started and how you can help the trades to get better and what you can do to help younger people to learn something maybe that you didn't know right away, or even right away time management techniques and really how to persist through business and really become a success. Mm-hmm. So what's your one tip? If you could give one tip to a young person thinking about maybe in grade 12, thinking about going into the trades, what advice? Even if they're doing an office job now and they're thinking, you know what, it's not working for me, I want to try something else more hands-on. What's one tip that you would give to someone watching that is considering this?
The one tip I definitely say is be persistent, and it's a bit of a cliche, but it does help. We've had employees that have applied for sometimes 2-3 years to get into our establishment, and we take them on, and then they just roll with it and they love it. So being persistent in applying to where you want to work and trying to follow through with that is definitely important.
Right.
You may not get hired the first time you put a resume out, but you put out dozens of resumes and you gather up as many interviews as possible and shoot for the stars, and that's what you have to do.
Great. Mike, how about you?
Pretty much the same thing, but take a chance, right? Like if you don't take a chance, you'll never know. So there's so much, life brings you so many opportunities. So you have to, if you feel that you are very hands-on and energetic, then take a chance and see where it goes.
Well, I always say the door of opportunity is always there. It's just a matter if you want to open the door or keep it closed. So thank you both for being here, and thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time on Persistence Pays.